Our preliminary investigations have left us uncertain as to whether any facts lie behind the theories and fantasies of a golden age. Part 5 will be devoted to this question. By contrast, the next part of the book has to do with facts of the most concrete kind. The chapters that follow chart one thread of the intellectual and mythical complex that gave birth to Nazism and its ideologies, in order to demonstrate how armchair speculations, when fueled by the energy of an archetype, can lead to unimaginable consequences. That's from a very interesting book called Arctos, The Polar Myth in Science, Symbolism, and Nazi Survival by Jocelyn Godwin, and that's an Adventures Unlimited book. Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Stench of Truth. And yet again, I'm going to focus on the idea of fascism. And I want to put this in terms that can be very easily understood. And we're going to strip away all the ideas of propaganda from any side of any issue and realize that any time some kind of movement is born, whether that be the Tea Party or any other faction or group, the powers that be who are already in power, who already have political power, attempt to co-opt, shape, and move those movements and ideas into a direction in which they can control it. So, I want to give kudos to Ella, that's 55 Ella 2007K, in her discussion on the Tea Party in particular. But I'm not going to focus solely on the Tea Party itself. I'm going to talk about every movement that comes up. And every time people become disgruntled and become angry about what's going on in this country. And I'm going to lay it out for you very simply. When you look at the economy today, who is it that is benefiting and thriving in the economy in the United States? Who is it? Who are the only people, the only groups who are benefiting in the economy of today in the United States? It's certainly not the poor. It's certainly not the middle class. What does that leave? That leaves the rich, and that leaves corporations. Now, fascism, in the sense that it is ever growing and ever controlling in this country, has to do with the fact that corporations and the rich people who fucking own them and run them and invest in them have control, effective control, over the political machinery in this country. And that can be reflected in how the Tea Party movement, as an example, has been pulled away from something that should be a core thing in their ideology. And that is that the number one enemy to the economic salvation of the people in this country are corporations, and most particularly financial corporations and Wall Street. And yet, in all the talk that they talk about when it comes to excessive taxation, which certainly, yes, we pay too much taxes, but instead of focusing on our tax burden, which is a legitimate concern, granted, there is a bigger, more overarching concern, and that is corporate and Wall Street taxation. And this is how these movements get co-opted. And you have someone who feels strongly about a particular issue, and instead you have the powers that be move in and craft and shape that and move it into a direction which is not productive for the overall good of the people. So, ask yourself, who is benefiting now? And what can be done to address that situation? And the answer is quite obvious. It's the corporations. It's the corporate infiltration of this government. This is not the first administration that this has happened, and certainly this has been going on for decades. Maybe even for a century. And because of this fact, we live in a de facto fascist regime where the corporations tell the government what they want to have done. Now, the politicians have to, from time to time, throw a bone out to the people to prevent the total uncovering of this fucking blasphemy of corporate domination of government. And that's why you have the SEC filing and I must emphasize, a civil case against Goldman Sachs for civil fraud rather than going after them criminally. And even if they end up paying a fine, do you think it's really going to affect their bottom line? Whenever all they do is manipulate every side of the market. I'd never do business with this fucking company. No matter what the fuck I buy from them, they probably have the other side covered on the short. So they can make money both ways. Fees for me, buying investments off of them, and then building their own coffers for shorting my fucking investments. And this group, and all of the others like it, and big corporations in this country, reap all of the fucking benefits that this country has. And you and I, middle class, and the poor, are the ones who bear the huge brunt, the huge burden of what has to be paid. And in any time you want to look at what the problem is, all you have to do is say, who is making money? Who is fucking prospering in this environment? And that will tell you where the problem lies. And until people decide to put their focus on where that problem lies, the big overarching problem that the radical right won't touch, and apparently the left has no clue about, at least in any organized fashion, because it's all propaganda and it's all streamlined and mainstreamed according to their own doctrines. And everything is pushed away from this. While you have some people on the left who want to declare that we need social programs and all of these other things, I don't hear them clamoring for clamping down on the corporations, and the right won't even address the fucking subject. Because that's like a sacrosanct fucking thing for them. But until you address the very giant fucking elephant in the room right in front of you, and that is the total and complete corporate domination of this government, and a program to address that, then you are never going to come across a solution. The very least we can do is start taxing these fuckers and make them pay their fair share into the system. And then we could talk about major new regulation, re-regulation, to make them follow some kind of fucking legal standard, instead of letting them run roughshod over everybody and everything in their path and suffer no fucking consequences. That's where we have to start. That has to be our focus. And that is getting the grip of corporations out of the government. And in that sense, you have to be anti-government because the government is run by the corporations. But what do we have to work with? What do we have to work with? We have to try to move within what we can do. And that is to try to put the focus on that corporate influence, put the focus on the corporations, put the focus on Wall Street, and keep the spotlight shining on them. And whenever your representatives and senators are revealed to be total shills for that fucking industry by your repeated slamming them with their token actions and their inaction in doing anything about it, thank you. Good day.